Welcome to Happy Learning. This is Pon Meenakshi. Today's session is about how to frame research questionnaire by step process. I hope students learn attitude measurement scale and technique of scale construction. This is high time to move on steps in constructing questionnaire. Learning objectives. The student should be able to understand the essentials of framing good questionnaire, construct effective questionnaire by using proper scale. The content of this session: essentials of questionnaire that researchers should follow and steps in constructing questionnaire. Now we'll move on to essentials of questionnaire. The questionnaire should be short and simple, and it must solve some logical problem, and it can have dichotomous and multiple choice. Dichotomous means binary type question. That means it elicits yes or no answers. So yes or no questions all comes under binary or dichotomous. And multiple choice question. And it must have closed ended and open ended question. Closed ended question means it can have options. Open ended questions mean like name and suggestions. Only a questionnaire have two part. One is name and please give your suggestion. In the first and last question alone open ended, remaining everything it can have closed ended so that it will be helpful for analysis purpose. Then avoid sentimental affecting question. Make it good paper and attractive printing. The next slide about steps in constructing questionnaire. The first step is a researcher should think about determine what information is wanted. Questions are prepared to meet research objective. So determine what information, it's purely relating to our research objective. Second step is determine the type of question to use. It can be collected through personal interview, mail, telephone. The way in which they are asked and the sequence in which they are asked will all be influenced by this decision. And third one, determine the content of individual questions. The first problem is to decide what to include in. It is based on our objective. And the fourth step is determine the type of questionnaire to use. As we discussed in the last slide, it has two types, open-ended and closed-ended. As we all know that open-ended there are three options: free response, probing, projective technique. Closed-ended question, it has four types: binary, that is nothing but dichotomous, ranking, multiple choice, and also checklist. Checklist means it has number of options. Okay, and the fifth step is deciding on wording of questions. Here it should be subjective or objective. It defines the issue. It may be positive or negative. Better we can have positive type of questions. Avoid ambiguous. Let's see remaining types of steps. Sixth step, deciding on questionnaire sequence. It has three aspects: basic classification, classification of information, and identification of information. Basic classification we divide as demographic variable and research oriented variable. Classification of information is based on our objective. Third, identification of information will search for options. So it is basically three aspects: basic classification, classification of information, and identification of information. The seventh step, decide length of questionnaire. The researcher have doubt how many pages it should be. It depends upon what the research wants to do, type of study, on the time which the researcher has available for the study, on the time the respondent can and will take. It should be reasonably long. It should be reasonably long. If they are filling up the question, it takes 30 to 40 minutes. If they are going with face-to-face interview, it takes 45 to 60 minutes. It depends upon the researcher. It depends upon the respondent too. If young people may be available for only lesser time. If you are approaching only older people, they will be available longer time in their house. It depends upon the respondent and also researcher. Mode of collecting data. The eighth step is decide on layout and reproduction. It has 3 points: accepting questionnaire, easy to control, Ease of handling questions. Accepting questionnaire. Physical appearance of the questions influence the interest and attitude of the respondent. If the question is prepared on rough paper, typed unimpressively, and designed poorly, it may not attract the respondent to read and answer your question. Easy to control, numbered questions are easy to follow and simple to operate throughout the survey time. Ease of handling, the question should be laid out and reproduced in a way for even the field workers to follow the sequence. If the question is crowded, it makes bad appearance. This may cause errors in collection of data. So decide on layout and reproduction. It has 3 parts. Accepting question, it must have impressed, typed and designed properly. Easy to control, numbered. Ease of handling, it must have sequence. And the 9th step, check questions. Once the first draft of the question has been completed and before it is actually pre-tested, it is a good idea to get expert opinion of the questions. Expert opinion, your guide. 10th step, pre-test. Researcher have reported pre-testing, changing and pre-testing again for as many as 25 times before they were satisfied with the same question. Pre-tests are best done by personal interview. So 25 times pre-test is necessary. The last point, revision and final draft. When the last pre-test suggests no new revision, the researcher is ready to print the actual questions to be used in the survey. So it covers totally 11 steps. The researcher is adhered to follow all the steps. Now we'll go with discussion questions. How many pages should we have questionnaire? Reasonably long, not above more than 5 pages. It may have 3 or 4 pages. In what ways the researcher control questionnaire? Numbered way. How many times the researcher can do pre-test? 25 times. If you have any clarifications, questions in your mind, you can comment on YouTube. Before concluding my slides, a small recap of this session. Essentials of framing questionnaire. It must be simple, short, and it can have dichotomous or multiple choice question, but it should solve logical problems. It has 11 steps. Determine what, how many pages, how many times pre-test, how to check, everything together. Steps in constructing questionnaire. On the note, I end my session. Thank you for watching.